Hey everybody, hope you're all having a great day so far. This has definitely been a nice day for me, so yeah, I can't complain. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the programming. Why not? You might notice I do have a different music radio on. The other one, although I really love Overclocked Remix, their streaming radio service just wasn't that great for streaming because it had all different kinds of music and there was no way to skip a song that I didn't like. So I just switched over to this other program that everything won't give me any trouble on YouTube. And it's really nice because I can also ask it to give me songs with no vocals, which is better for streaming it, at least when I'm trying to talk over it the whole time. But yeah, to the programming. Right, so we were working on the animation movement and we got it working, but I wanted to extend it to allow you to have more fine-grained control over the animations, because the current system we can only move to the center of a hexagon. I think the game will still load, so let's just take a look and see the progress that I've made so far. Yeah, so monster will move over here over 3 seconds. That's all good. But like right now, any animation could only move to the centers of these hexagons, which might not be ideal. I could imagine like I don't know, a charge animation, and maybe they'd want to take a couple steps back and then go forward and do that. There'd be no way to do that unless you encoded the back step in the actual animation itself in Unity, which I guess could have worked, but I mean, this isn't going to be super difficult, I don't think so. Okay, so what I was doing yesterday is I have this board position, which is basically a space on the board. So they each refer to one hexagon, and then I have a world position, which is actually a position in the 3D world space, which is just a normal XYZ coordinate system. And I wanted one unit on the horizontal, or I guess, yeah, on the XY plane, to be from the center of one hexagon to the center of another one on the east-west direction, or the column direction. Because since we're having hexagons, center is actually longer if you go up and down. And to do that, all I have to do is divide by square root of 3, and the reason is because in this Cartesian function, we basically just want to take out this value, because we just want it to be row plus column divided by 2. And so that's pretty easy. So the x is just row, or the column plus half of the row is the x, and that makes sense if you look at the map system. Load it back up again. And go into the scene and just look straight down. So obviously a column moves you one whole hexagon over, or one whole unit over, but if you move up a row, you move half a unit over. So that's where that comes from. Whereas the y is actually 2/3 of the row. And then for us, we'd also divide by another square root of 3, so it's 3 over 2 times the square root of 3 times the row. The only weird thing is here that the z coordinate, I'm just going by the actual layer index. And so one unit in the z coordinate system is actually a different length than one unit on the xy plane, which is a little confusing, but I don't know if it actually will matter. So I think I'll just leave it like this. In order to have them be the same, this code would need to have knowledge of the board metrics, because it'd have to get the ratio of the height and width, or the hexagon radius and the layer height, and then multiply that, or divide it by square root of 3 and everything. So I guess I can do that, but I don't think it will matter. Okay, so anyway, now that we've done that, And the position utilities, I can also just create a world position. I could see maybe wanting to use this distance function, but it's not. I'll just add functions as I need them. So here in the framework functions, right now we create a board position and we move it one row up. Let's do a test and we'll do the same thing except we'll use a world position and I'll just move it let's just set it to 1, 1, 1. That will be fine just for testing. Okay, let's close that. And now when I press play, it's going to give me an error because it can't convert the world position. Okay, actually, I think I used the wrong. I'm still using a board position right here. So obviously everything was just moving to the first hexagon, which is right there. We actually want to create a world position, and this should give us a cast exception. It cannot convert user data to a controller type board position. So what I actually want to do, what's that? I need to change the, where is it, the animations and the Lua interface first of all. And okay, so here instead of just accepting a board pose right away, we need to accept a dynamic value because it can have multiple multiple types, and the dynamic value basically just means a Lua variable which is untyped, or not untyped. Forget the technical term, but basically it's just whatever type you assign it to. I think I forgot to commit last night. You okay? What am I looking for? Oh right, so the actual function that takes care of that Lua command is in here. And so I need to change this to a dynamic value. And now this is not quite as simple. So I guess, okay, let's clean up this top bar animation. Command. Right now we pass a hex position, and I remember I was debating this earlier. Don't really. Maybe we should just allow setting both, then choose which one to actually use. Because I mean, I could just use a vector 3 here, but then whenever something sends a linear movement command, it might, we'd force it to have to know how to convert a hex position into the world position, which I guess not that big of a deal, but actually, yeah, I don't really want to do that because, well, let's. Maybe, okay, I'll convert this into a vector 3, but it's not going to be in the Unity world space. It'll be in the world space that's similar to what we're going to use in Lua. Except I think I'll actually have it multiply back in that square root of 3. So it'll line up with what hex position will return. And okay, so yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so we have, let's change this to 2 Cartesian, 2D. And then I'll have 3D, which will be the same thing, except we'll actually return a vector 3. And again, I'll just return the actual layer. I guess I need to multiply that by square root of 3 as well. Okay. Don't know if I like that. Kind of want this to be like independent of the actual metrics of the world. I guess. Yeah, I guess this will be fine. So then if I go back, because I was trying to decide here, do I want to use the database metrics? And then, because the only problem I can see is with this 2 Cartesian 3D. If we use it, then the layer, like if we tried to do a lerp between these two vector 3s, it would kind of be distorted because the layer, again, doesn't have the same, or the z coordinate doesn't have the same units as x and y. So I don't think maybe the best thing to do is just not to even have this function. Yeah, I think I do like that idea the best, actually. Yeah. And then I'll just rename this back. Don't know what was that come up for. So then have in this world position. Oh, wrong namespace down here. I'll just have another moonsharp hidden value here. Sharp hidden. And this will be public get. Oh wait, the syntax. Go to vector 3, and let's just have this as to this game Cartesian. Yeah, I'll make this a function actually, because it's going to have to do some math. Okay, and really all this will be is we'll turn new vector 3, x times hex position. I don't have that either in here. Square root of 3, and it'll be y times hex position, square root of 3, and then the z we don't multiply. And let's do something like this. We'll do public static vector 3 now we can just do actual world position because, yeah, since these are floats, we can't really instance them. So let's change this to Maybe I think 2 units will be better. And it will pass a vector 3. And we'll just return world position x, oh wait, game units dot x divided by x position square root of 3 game units dot y divided by square root of 3, and then again just we'll take the z. I'll make a overload of this function that will actually take a hex position. How you spell vector? Equals x dot to Cartesian, and we'll return Lua units x, x, y, and then the layer. Oh, right. I can't spell vector tonight. There we go. Oh, right. This is the wrong variable. This should be position, not the hexagon. Okay, so I have these helper functions. So I should probably get the old logic out of here. Or where was it? It was in the block or board position, actually. Add these comments back. Okay, so all we have to do here is just turn world position dot to Lua units. And they're all hidden, so that's fine. I guess we could make a static version of this if we needed to, but... Okay, so now that that's all done with, I need to make sure that this final position is either... Oh, actually I was trying to decide what to do here. So this will be a vector 3 target position, and this will be in the game units. And then we'll transform that to unity units later. Okay, so final position either needs to be a hex position or a world position. So if final position is user data, then I guess I'll check the board position first. Fortunately, there's not a really easy way to do this. Final position dot to object. We'll just throw an error. I don't know, I guess we'll see. Then if board position does not equal null, check this. Okay, well, yeah, I guess I could have just deleted that. I guess I need a reference to the final vector 3. Did it again. Okay, so if it's not out of bounds, then the target vector 3 is just the target hex. Yeah, 2 Cartesian, but I have to add it in the layer. Guess I can do it like this. Equals target hex dot layer. Alright. So now we need to check if it's a world position. And if world position, I don't know why I chose that one, not equal null. So here the target vector 3 is really simple, and we don't have to do any more validation. Is world position 2 game units. Okay, and then here, let's do it this way. Target vector found. I guess the best way to avoid a bug would be to assign it true very specifically if we get to those points. And then if target vector found is false, we would throw a legal argument type past animation near I guess this target position and remove must be a forward position or world position. Break that up. So now I have the target vector 3. Oh, it could be unassigned at this point, actually. Well, not really, but because if, yeah, the compiler is just not smart enough to know this, but if this is not assigned, then target vector found would be false, and then this would have been thrown, but it's fine. Okay, so now I need to update. Oh, I left this running because now the game's going to be kind of slow. Oh, no more errors? Okay, I knew there was something. We have to update the class that actually takes care of the movement in the UX. So we have this get model position. Which is an interesting point. Well, I guess we'd still handle it the same, except instead of passing a hex position here, we would just have a world position, and then we would see here. Okay, so this uses the 2 Cartesian, which is what we have. So I think I can update this to take vector 3. And I'll just call this game units. Okay, We don't have to do that because this is basically what this vector 3 already encodes. Still need to know the radius and game units x, game units y, and then yeah, we just scale the height. Why is it not like that? Oh, get height needs to be an integer. Well, I could just make it a float. Doesn't make any difference. And then notice here also that in Unity units, the y vector, or the y vector points upwards, whereas in game units, z vector points upwards. That just is easier for me to. I prefer that coordinate system. So, but we can easily convert between them. So that's why game units at x is x, and then z, and then this is y. So I think here I can basically just pass two Cartesian. Yeah, so we'll return to world Cartesian x, Cartesian y, and then the hex layer. Not like that? Oh yeah, I have to change this to a vector 3. And then I'll pass the metrics through. Alright, and so this is basically the same. Or not basically, it is the same. But now we have fractional our movement between, I guess, fractional units, basically. Before it was only integers. So yeah, so now let's get model position. We need to modify this a little bit more. And really all we do is we subtract 1 from the height because models have their anchor should be at their feet, which should actually be on the top of the block below them. So that's why we subtract this. But what actually... Okay, let's again overload this. And again, I'll call this game units. So really, all I have to do a new vector 3, and it's game units x, game. Okay, well actually no, this is in game units, so I still need to call to world. Because I was going to subtract from the y, but actually, I don't need to do this. Oh yeah, well, it's still game unit z minus 1, and then we just pass the metrics. And that should be the same thing. What am I trying to do? Linear mover is what I want. That's actually fixed. And I think, is that all I have to do, really? I think so. So let's see, if we play the game, we should move to 1, 1, 1, which will, I'm compiling that is, which will be 1 hexagon over, but a little higher than the 1 row up. Let's know about the logger not being used. Okay, so we still got an error. Let's just see what that is. Not convert a user data to a controller type. Board position. That call script. I thought I updated that. Line 42. Thing here. Create world position. But I thought this animations move linear I already updated. Yeah, it's a dynamic value right there. Maybe position utilities is wrong. Cannot convert a user data to control type Lord position. Okay, maybe what's actually happening is it's that error is being thrown when I call this to object. Something similar though. I've done that a lot. I never had this error, but maybe I didn't use this same function. So if I look here, we also have to cast this target to a user to get model ID. No, I still do use the to object. But maybe I've always passed a monster, so I haven't gotten this error before. How did I do this casting before? I don't know. Let's idea. So we still have to check if it's a user data. So I guess target user data object. I think I'll just have to do it this way. Lua interface monster. So I'll do the same thing back at the do movement. User data object as world position. Okay, and so we haven't seen this as keyword. It tries to convert this object to this object, but if it fails, then it just returns null, which is what I want to happen. I thought that's what Moonsharp would do, but apparently it throws an error, which could be useful in some aspects, but it's not what I want right here. Okay, yeah, so now we're not getting an error, and it's moving, both moving to position 111, which is apparently right there. Look at the scene. So this, okay, so it is in the middle here, and then it's slightly above halfway. That makes sense. And then one in the Z position is still, yeah, it's right on top. Okay, and when, so they only, again, just because the XY plane and then the Z direction have different units, if you lerp between them, you'll get some weird behaviors. But I think the only time I actually lerp between them is here in the linear mover. And by there, I've converted both of them to unity units. So, and there, that, don't have to worry about that discrepancy. Okay, so that was not quite as difficult as I thought it might be. Let's try one more. Let's move it to a different height. Yeah, about 1, 2, 3. Well, no, let's do a fraction. So negative 0.1 to about 333. Okay, so let's just see how this looks. Okay, so it still works. And obviously it's a little to the left because it's negative 0.1, and then 2 1/3 up looks about right. And then if we look sideways, it's about supposed to be, well, it's definitely higher than 3 layers because 1, 2, 3, and then it's third up, or 3/4 up. So looks like it worked. Alright, so that's fine, but I think I'll stick to the hexagon position for now, because I think that will be the more common use case and it's what we want. Alright, so we got that done and we have movement by speed. Oh wait, no, I don't have movement by speed. Yeah, so let's do that real quick. So right now here defines the way the I guess the way that this movement is resolved, and we have it set to a timer right now. And so basically it just lerps between the current position and the final position, and it will be done moving at this period. And another way we want to do it is speed, and we'll say do this moving the monster at this speed. And I could see us wanting like an acceleration or some kind of easing between them, so speed might be a bit more complicated than just a flat speed. But let's just take the simple route for now. Because we probably want an easing even for a timed movement, actually. And by easing, I mean it should start off slower and then gain speed and then kind of like that. It's not really that difficult to do, but I've got to let the mods find that somehow. So anyway, we have one thing that's not used in the linear movement command, which is the type, or I think I call it the sync type. Here we have a timer period. We could still use the timer because we'll actually be able to figure out this timer period from the speed. So I don't think I have to change anything here. I guess I shouldn't set that yet, just to be clean. So we'll switch the command sync type. Case timer. There we just set new move timer period. The command synchronize argument. Okay, and speed, this will be the new thing, and really all we have to do is take the difference between the start and the final position and divide by the speed. Now the thing is that the speed is actually in world coordinates and not in game coordinates, so I don't know, do I want to change that? Let's not, because I guess when it comes down to it, I guess when it comes down to it, if the mod authors wanted a movement to be finished in a certain time, they just use this timer mode. Or if they wanted speed, they care more about visual speed moving, so yeah, this will be in world coordinates, which makes it simple for me. So the period is just the distance between the start and the final position divided by the sync argument. Target, our final position, divided by sync argument. Obviously, complaining about Oh right, I have to do magnitude. So we'll get the magnitude of this vector, which is just another way to say get the distance between these two vectors. So yeah, this is fine. So one thing is we notice here, since we divide by 0, I need to make sure that the speed argument is greater than 0. So I would do that here. So yeah, we already make sure that the period is greater than 0. So it'll actually be the same for speed. So this must be greater than 0. And I think that's it. That's actually pretty simple. So right now I have the speed and I have it set to 1. Let's try that. Oh, well, no, this is fine. I was gonna say somewhere I need to divide the speed by delta time, but I don't actually multiply by it. Actually looks almost exactly the same as the method before. Let's make it go faster. Is that centered? I think so. Yeah, it's centered. It's just the... Yeah, what was confusing me is the checkerboard pattern is not centered. Oh yeah, we really need to tidy up the terrain. After we finish animation system, we'll take another pass at the graphics because I need to make a better shader as well. But anyway, let's not get derailed. So let's make the speed... because that goes really fast. And then if I just change this to timer, to go very slow because it's going to try to move them over 10-second period between those two positions. Okay, so yeah, that's working as intended. Okay, that was very simple. So I think linear movement is all done. The question is, before I move on to the next movement type, do I want to try and tackle... Okay, well I should definitely do easing. But do I want to try and tackle the animation synchronization? And things like the signal? Maybe. Because, yeah, I'd have to add this stuff into the other movement types. It's a little confusing. This basically just means that the movement will signal back when the movement is complete, so that the game will know to resume actions if they've been halted or whatever, or resume a coroutine. We haven't done that quite yet. Oh, this is actually something different. So what this, let me see. How would I explain it? I don't think I've used this yet on stream, but in an animation, pick up Egg Dino so we can see something. You can, up here, you can add an animation event. And what this does, maybe because there's no script attached to it, this adds a dummy. Click on it. Okay, I have to just left click. Then you can pick some function, and the animator will actually call this function on this object when this event is reached in the timeline. So it might be kind of cool if we had a way that the animations could signal the game when to stop a movement, or yeah, when to stop a movement, I guess. Although, wait. I don't think this is... How would that work? See this, because in order for these moves, you kind of have to know how long something will take in order to move to the final position by the time the animation is done. Or in order to move to a final position, you need to know the full duration. So that doesn't really make much sense now that I think about it. But it would be nice if we have, yeah, this animation event wait handle. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So that way animation could signal when to wake up the game. Yeah, so this go away. But I would really like to do this where an animation tries to synchronize with, or the movement tries to synchronize with an animation, but I don't know if it's going to be possible. I guess we'd have to do kind of just a simple case. I think I might know a way. But yeah, let's try it, I guess. So really I just have to do this, and then maybe this movement wait handle. Don't have any of these handles yet, but really all it will be is this linear movement command would have an integer for a wait handle, and then we would just call a message to say animation signal is or for the specific wait handle is done. Okay, so let's just try animation state. It's going to be a bit more complicated because we won't know the timer right at this point, and it's going to actually have to wait one frame. So waiting needs animation initialize. It might be kind of buggy. I don't really know how useful this will be, but for simple things I could see. So if it's on animation state, then we need to set a need animation initialization to true, and the timer period doesn't matter at this point. And so here when we get to update movement, if initialization, if initialization needs to be true, we have to actually wait one frame. So I don't know, because we have to wait until the Unity animation system updates. Because, take for example, if we set a Boolean right here to trigger our new animation, the Unity animation system, let's get rid of this now. It's compiling, so I can't click on it just yet. There we go. So here, if we triggered this, obviously the game's not running, so it's not going to do anything, but the idle or the animator would not immediately start moving to rotate. It would have to wait one frame until it sees that, oh, rotate set to true, so I should move. That's probably good, but because that's the case, we have to make sure that the this movement animator waits one frame before it checks to see if the state has changed. And basically how we'll do it is we'll look at the state and then read its animation and try to find the length of the animation, and then we can use that to start moving. So yeah, if the animation speed changes mid-thing, that would mess us up. But I mean, like I said, this will only work for very simple. So if move needs animation initializer, or initialization, then we need to get the animator. Animator equals models, models, model ID, animator. Okay, I guess I'll need to also have the frame count here. I don't know if we can be sure. I think the way I have this set up actually is a ticking priority right now is at UX, which is runs after the rest of the game. So the Lua scripts would be called during normal, and then UX would run. So basically we have to wait. Like the first time this is called, we don't do anything because we have to wait one frame. Because I'm pretty sure that the Unity animations will run after this. So let's do this frame number. Oh, one easy way to do this. Time frame count. And then when we get here, so if move dot frame number is less than or equal to the frame count in Unity, then we'll turn. Otherwise, we can start doing this. I guess we'd return false. Okay, so we need to get the current state. Get current animator state info for the layer index. Could just always assume 0. That seems wrong though. Well, the mod author would know what index the layer would be on, so because they'd actually have created the animations as well. So let's kind of adding a lot of data here, but that's okay. I guess for now, let's set that to 0. Probably 0 will be default. So let's see, animation sync set with defined layer. And if you've forgotten what that is, we have 2 layers here, one for the base layer and one for the tail. So I could see you wanting to try to synchronize with an animation on a separate layer than the default one, so I think I will leave that. Oh, animator index, bad name. Okay, and what is this value? This is animator state info. I hope this has what I need. Really what I want to get, okay, so I have the length, but I don't know if that's the period. The current duration of the state. Normalized time. Okay, well that's normalized time that the state passed, so I guess we would need that. But I should look up what this length is, just to be sure. Let's see, so Unity animator state info. Hopefully this is useful. Current duration of the state in seconds can vary when the state contains a blend tree. Oh, that makes sense. A blend tree we haven't used yet, but it's if you blend basically two animations together based on a float. It's useful like if you want to have a running and a walking animation, but you'd like kind of blend between them depending on the actual speed. Luckily, the game doesn't really have to care about that at all. That'll all be set up in Unity. Okay, so I think we actually will just use that length. I guess the normalized time is integer part is the number of times a state has been looped. The fractional part is the percentage progress of the current loop. So yeah, that's what I thought it was. So basically, I will do this. Float length is state info. Float percent is state info. Normalized time minus the floor of normalized time. Get rid of the integer part of this. And I guess in case there's some weird thing that happens, we'll just clamp this to 0 and 1. Okay, so from that we can figure out how much the timer would be. So the timer period is the length times 1 minus percent, because we want to find the time that's left, and normalized time is the time that's elapsed. So yeah, this will be pretty good. I mean, basically just take a snapshot and use that period for our movement, but it's really the best we can do. If we tried to like match exactly this percent as the lerp, which I guess we could do, but it would probably look choppy. That is an option though. We'll add a note to try that. For movement, maybe use animation state normalized time as the lerp parameter. Yeah, we'll come back to that later, but I think this will work for now. Okay, so once we get to this point, I can set move animations initialization to false. Okay, and movement at should actually. I guess we'll need an else here. Yeah, because we want move at to start at 0. So. Well, let's see. No, because we want to limit it just a little bit. So I actually need to add a delta time to it so it will work out correctly. Okay, so yeah, at does not start at 0, but this is the current time left. So yeah, we need to add delta time to this so that it takes into account the movement from the last frame. Add delta time since normalized time is current time left, and at will be not start at 0. Okay, so test this. I'm going to need to here, so I'll leave the rotate simple. Actually, let's just make a new test state for this. If I can spell it right. So what I want to do, let's have a new parameter. Just do trigger is fine. Test. And so this will move, it has no exit time. And it will move from idle to test when test trigger begins. And then here, whenever test is complete, we'll move straight to idle. And that's what this has exit time means. It's based on the animation's time and not the idle and not some condition. So this looks fine. And then what should this be? We'll jump. The only one that we have that has a period is idle, so this will be a little weird, but just to test this, I'll set this to jump right here, and I'll need to remember to switch that out. So this will be animation, and then we have no synchronization argument. Oh, actually the argument would be the layer, so yeah, that works out well. Okay, so now here we have to test for this third type. Okay, the sync arg is a float, so I will need to add something different here, but animation layer. I guess now I have that value, so I don't need to set it to 0. Animation layer. Okay, so all I have to do is just make sure that the sync argument is greater than or equal to 0. So it's kind of the same as before. I'll just have it default to -1. Animation layer must be greater than 0. Or actually, it can be 0, so must not be negative. I guess I'll just pass our call round to integer on the arg break. Okay, so I think that's it. So what should happen is the animation will start. Oh, the problem, I'm gonna need to refile the asset bundles. Oh, let's make sure it works first. That we did this last time, where we had to make changes to the asset bundles, but it didn't work right away, and I had to do it like 3 times. So I'll bring this one out. And since this egg dino was not made during an asset bundle, you can see its idle animation is the quote rotate animation, which just has the feet sticking out the bottom. And while this one, the idle animation, is still the correct one because it hasn't updated. That's because it's technically not using the same animation engine. So here, I know if I click test, it should switch to that and then switch back to idle. Okay, it's gonna be kind of fast. But we should still be able to tell. It does work, so I guess let's go assets, build asset bundles. This can take a little while, but time will get a bit of water. Alright, I think it's done. Yep. So, okay, now I decide to recompile again. I want to show and explore so that I can grab the asset bundles from here. We'll just deposit them into the test content. Oops, that was the wrong thing. I actually want to move. Okay, so now hopefully everything should work out. I load in, yeah, we can see that they're the wrong animation at first, but we actually get an error, so let's see what that is. Animation layer must not be negative. Let's see. Right here is where it's supposed to be. Oh, I did less than or equal to 0, so this should just be less than 0. But I guess I should round it first before we test that out. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, so something's not working right. Script, ability move equal. So, because it didn't move, so something going wrong. It's a new turn yielded and complete, so it did run. Move linear and correct board position. 1 over layer 0. Didn't throw any errors, so it got to this part. Okay, I did set that. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna need to do some debugging. Uh, Options. On layer at frame again, so we'll just pass. Oh, I don't set frame number. Oh, I do set the frame number right there, so that's not the issue. I guess I should use a new move. And then down here, I guess I'll test again. Oh, I did this wrong. It should be if the frame number is greater than or equal to the time frame count we return. Because if the frame number is less, then that means the frame count has gone past it. So that's actually the whole error, but okay, I'm kind of curious about what this timer period is. As period. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so it looked like it moved, but well, it still worked because it went with one frame of the animation, but I forgot to actually set the boolean, the test trigger. So set trigger test. Okay, we can see it change to the idle animation for one frame. But let's look back at the debug logs to see the actual period. Parameter command trigger test value none. That's fine. Okay, 0 frame on 1. That's that. So then it waits one frame. Should set out. I think has period. Yeah, so it's just less than a second because one frame has gone by. So that actually works great. So, I mean, it's not ever gonna like hang the system because it's for sure not gonna run infinitely, but if the system, I could see it like grabbing the wrong animation. For the state info, can I get the name? Because it'd be nice to print that out as well. I could get the name hash. I can't get the real name of it. Bit of a shame, but I guess one way I could do it. Set the speed here really low, and so that would actually make the normalized time move slower. I think. I'm not. It might still run the same, but let's test it. Oh, but then I'll have to recompile asset bundles again. Well, okay, do it. Luckily, this isn't something mod authors will have to do much, I don't think, because they'll be able to actually test in Unity and they won't have to worry about their code not working. So I guess I'd have to worry about their actual scripts not working, but not the game code. Okay, so that didn't affect it at all. But I wonder if that's because... Okay, let's look at that again. It could just be because that speed variable doesn't actually affect. Okay, yeah, so it's actually still running, but it didn't affect the animations. Interesting. I wonder if it's actually using the idle animation. Or the jump here. This actually has no links. Okay, let's actually give it a link so that it won't try to run. Copy or paste this. Okay, there we go. So now that's just 1/10 of a second of a period, so if the movement is super fast, then we'll know that there's some issue there. Hopefully the link is not, or the length isn't normalized. That wouldn't make much sense, but it must not be affected by the speed. It's a bit of a shame. Okay, so move this down. So we know if movement goes super fast, then it's still using. Okay. Yeah, so it hasn't updated to start using the other animation speed yet. It's still using the current ones, even though it's been a frame. Okay, so let's look. How does this work? We look in the animator. Enable it. There's a test. What is it? Doesn't actually show like that the current animation state, does it? That waits until this one's done. But I don't know, because they're both playing at the same time because they're blending together. I'm not sure which one the game. Well, I mean, obviously, one frame in it assumes idle is the current frame. Maybe I should get next. What happens if nothing is in here? If there's no next, does it just return the current one if it's infinitely looping? That'd be kind of nice, but... Turns an anime state info which information on the next state. Okay, that's not that formative. Let's see if this works. And then we can test what happens if we don't set that boolean and the animation is just looping. Hopefully in that case, get next will actually just return get current, but I don't know for sure. Okay, so now the period is based on the actual next animation, which is what we want. Perfect. So if I don't set this trigger, then what happens? Does it throw an error? Because the next animation should be nil because technically it's not transitioning. Oh, okay, so it does work how I thought. It just returns the current one because it's going to keep a loop. What? Was that 0 or was that like a very... Okay, animation sync period. Yeah, it was 1/10, so it wasn't 0, so It just went super fast. Okay, so now got it all working. Good. So let's fix up the animation and then on. Well, we'll still need this, I guess, to test rotation and stuff. Although it will really use the same system. I don't think we'll have to, but I'll just leave it for now, even though it's gonna look wonky. Okay, so we finished both of these. The weight handles, this will be pretty simple because we're not actually going to implement this right now, but so command, we'll just pass weight handle, and I don't even think I'll instantiate it. And then the linear mover, just when this is done, before it removes it, or I guess I'll just have that code in this function to leave as much out of the loop as possible. So equals this. If complete. Well, just for, do I want to like not call this until we've updated all movement? I don't think it matters. If it does matter, it's not that difficult to change. So we'll have message claim. Yeah, we'll pass an integer and tag. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. So this is yeah, weight handle release. Okay, yeah, just an int. Okay, so let's call this animation weight handle release. A long name, but it doesn't need an archetype. It's just the default because yeah, it has many. Oh well, no, it does because it has many claims but one receiver, so it needs to have the command archetype. Right, so here, if complete, then we just call that message. So send. Oh, I don't store it here. So int weight handle. That shouldn't be a semicolon. I always do that. Okay, so that's it. And later on, the movement, I guess the script manager, the animation script manager will have the receiver for that message, and then it will handle releasing those weights. Weight handles, I guess. I don't know exactly what to call them, but coroutines. So that is pretty much done. And with that, we're done with linear movement. So arc movement is really about the same as this, or it's going to have a lot in common. It has these three types. And we're still basically alert between two positions, but we also add a Y movement. Think of the best way to do this. I could really have this same object handle it, but then we would have a separate claim message. The rotator is going to be different because instead of like here, it would need to find the distance between two angles, and I'll have to keep track of the rotation direction and things. So, worried about that. But I'm just trying to decide, like, all of this stuff is going to be common, so I don't know if I want to have like some mover parent class that has like all the stuff, and then separate classes that take each command and then execute. But I guess what other type of movement am I going to have, really? Linear arc and rotation, so I know this is called the linear mover, but well, we can always, if this class gets too big, it's not going to be that difficult to separate out. This will be execute here. Up here we have the movement command. So we'll just have an arc movement command, and this has all the same except, and it also needs an arc height. Oh, well, before I do this, I need to do easing. Yeah, do that first. Okay, so yeah, and easing. And really, all that is that instead of just using, where is it? This value in the lerp, we'll use an easing function, which have a big library of them. I don't know exactly how many we'll need to have available, but where is it? Or yeah, so this function has like quadratic, cubic, quartic, all different kinds of easing that you'd want. And all it is, I don't know, actually I think all of them do, but you're given you give it a value between 0 and 1, and it transforms it to another range also between 0 and 1, but that yeah, like just the value is a little smoother. So there's a whole bunch here. Some of them actually overshoot the value because they kind of, I think the elastic goes a little too far forward and then comes back. So unfortunately the default Unity doesn't support going outside the 0 to 1 range because for some reason Vector 3 LARP clamps it, but well, that's useful sometimes, so. So really all I have to do is we just have an enumeration. But I think actually in the current movement, I'll just click have a function and it returns float, and the argument is also a float. So all I have to do is call move, then we pass it the at and timer period. I guess I should clamp the timer period between 0 and 1 because yeah, these don't have clamps. Okay, so float p. Well, I don't really have to clamp the start. Like, it's never going to be greater than or less than 0, so I could just min. Okay. So if we want to have our own lerp and not use vector 3, not that difficult. What is the value? I mean, isn't it something like A minus B? Oh, I don't know. You'd have to, for vectors it's a little different because you have to get the direction and everything. Well, I don't want to do it off the top of my head because, as I've said many times, it's a little late for math. So yeah, unclamp vector 3 dot lerp in mint. Let's see. So yeah, we just have to have some way to decide the easing function. I'm not sure if, do I want the movement command to actually just pass the easing function? That might be kind of nice instead of having to like decode it here. It's not like these, yeah, these are just like logic functions. It's not like they're part of the UX or anything, so I don't see a problem with other classes. The other classes like having knowledge of them. So in that case, we would just call public function float. And maybe just for use, it already does have linear. I was going to make a dummy, but I need to. And then this Lua do movement, I guess I'll just call equals in here. And since they're all static, that's not going to create garbage, so that will be fine. And I just need to store it here. Command dot easy. I'll make sure everything still works fine. Oh, so we can actually see what's happening. I guess I should either change this back to speed. Let's just do timer, that's the simplest. Seconds. Okay, so that still works fine. And so if I changed it to quadratic, then it would look more like accelerating. Where is it? So quadratic and out. Yeah, so see, it speeds up in the middle. I guess the question is, should Lua have knowledge of these easing functions? Or should it just have specify the type? And then should it even be able to define its own easing function? I think that's a little bit too much because then we'd have to call Lua every frame for that. Oh yeah, I think that's fine, and that's way too much fine grain control than it really would need. Yeah, so we'll have another argument here for the easing type. All caps, I guess. Quadratic, and then specify like only quadratic in or quadratic out. Something like that. But if you don't say either, then it's just in and out. So let's... Okay, so I'm gonna have a big long validation for that. So function float zing which I guess I'll have another argument here. String yeah, if string is null or empty, then we'll call that using string. Then we'll just use linear. Why did not autocomplete? Okay, so now using string, upper invariant. Okay, so I guess I'll also provide linear here in case they want to say it for some reason. And I'll go ahead and write the default, and we just throw error. The illegal type. Okay, so I could define these forever, so I'm just going to do a few. Quadratic in, quadratic out. What's another? Probably like sinusoidal. Maybe a cubic I could see being pretty used. And all of them do have a use, but I eventually want to type out right now until I actually do use it. Cubic. Yeah, sinusoidal I'll probably want to do. I'm not sure. Like the elastic and back and bounce all look good, but we don't. Like I said, the lerp is clamped right now, and they're a little better for. Actually, I could see these being used for like a collision. So maybe I will put them in, but. Yeah, but I'll do sinusoidal at least. Should have copied this first. Went too far. So sinusoidal, sinusoidal, sinusoidal. And I need to actually see what the elastic looks like before I add it in, but if I remember correctly, elastic overshoots and then comes back, which will be good for a collision, I think. Back kind of does a roundup, or what do you call? an overcompensation because it'll go backward a bit and then goes forward, and I think bounce like hits the target and then bounces back like that. So yeah, definitely I'll probably do elastic. I can see some of the other ones like circular being used, but like I said, don't want to go too crazy right now. And we will need this elastic because we'll need it to test unclamping. Okay, so let's just test this. I'll just put sinusoidal out. Why not? Oh, well, we're gonna get an error because, yeah. This does not take this. Oh, this action won't even let me have that many values. Yeah, okay. I'll have to have my own delegate then. Okay, so public delegate linear move delegate. That's not how it works. I always forget the namespace for delegates because I'm so used to using action. I guess I'll need to look it up. Okay, so C# delegate. And delegates are basically your own custom function type. Oh, I forgot the return value, so let's see. Back to here. So yeah, public delegate, void, move delegate. Take this. Oh, I guess I have to name it. Okay, so target. Final position. Think type. Arg. Okay, so I think that will take care of that. Then compiling, we'll see. Be good. Okay, yeah, so it did do a little bit of easing there, and no errors, so it was all fine. One thing I want to see is if I leave empty value there, will it throw an error or will it just send an empty string? I'm not really sure how main sharp handles that case, so. Okay, it throws an error. Oh, actually no it didn't. It did just return an empty string, or pass an empty string. But I forgot an if-else statement there. Okay, so main sharp did work how I wanted. Yeah, so it just went linear. Didn't look linear, did it? I'm just imagining things, but it looked like it had a little bit of easing. Oh, because I don't actually Oh, I don't actually use the using that is given by the script. Okay, so I'll need to test sinusoidal again. See how that looks. Yeah, that's definitely linear. And if I put sinusoidal back, I spelled that right. Okay, yeah, that definitely was easy. Okay, so let's see. Done with those. That was relatively simple as well. Yeah, some of these things I thought would take longer, but it's not too bad. Okay, so forgive me, but I'm just going to look up the way to lerp between two vectors. Lerp to vector. Okay. Well, it's actually just giving me the unity thing, so I want to unclamp. It has slurp unclamped, but spherically interpolates between two vectors, and that's when you want to interpret the vectors as a rotation or directions rather than points in space. That's nice that they have that. Yeah, so it's just, yeah, T. Okay, that's an easy way to do it. Yeah, I was overthinking it because I was thinking I had to like find the difference and everything. Yeah, you can just think of it as a linear combination. So let's vector 3 utils, public, static, vector 3, unclamp, if I can spell it, unclamped lerp, vector 3, A, B, oh yeah, and then I need the percentage. So again, this is just A, A times P plus B times 1 minus P. Okay, so if I move back to the linear mover, be the same, so yeah, vector 3 fills, unclamped lerp. Okay, so before I mess around with anything outside the values of 0 to 1, I want to make sure this actually works. Okay, so I actually have it backwards. Yeah, well, that makes sense because, yeah, at first you have all of A, which is the beginning, and none of B. So I could have just figured that out by doing a thought experiment, but So let's just start this up again. Okay, that looks good. So if I try the, what's it called, elastic. I guess let's just do elastic out. Yeah, so we can see it overshoots and then comes back a bit. It's actually not exactly what I thought because it kept like bouncing around the point, but that's okay. Alright, well at least it works. So, done with that. Okay, so now let's move on to arc movement. I've got about 10 more minutes worth of streaming, so we can probably knock out quite a bit of it. I'm still not sure. So basically arc movement will be almost exactly the same here, except at this point we'll add a y onto the final vector, which is the arc movement at that position. And easing will be a little weird on arc movement now that I think about it. But yeah, we'll just leave all the options in there. So probably the easing will actually only take place in a linear direction. And the arc will just be added onto it, and it actually won't be eased because that won't make much sense. So I think I'll actually, I think the only thing different between a linear and arc is that we'll have this arc height. So if I set this to 0, then arc and linear is exactly the same. So do I want to just, yeah, let's just change this to a movement command instead of linear, because arc is exactly the same now that I think about it. So get rid of that. Arc height. This will be in game units, so we will need to transform that. So here and hex math. So, okay, I guess this will work fine. I can just call this get height. Is math get height command dot arc height. And then I need to pass the metrics as well. Okay, so this is all the same. I can get rid of that. Debug. So I won't set the position just yet. Vector 3 flat position. And then the flat position we'll just add onto the y, so it's plus equals move dot arc height times, can't use an easing, can I? But I do have, I remember I looked this up ahead of time. So we want to multiply the height by -4 times t squared minus t, because that's a parabola with zeros at t equals 0 and t equals 1. But then at t equals 1/2, it's the full height, which is exactly what we want to use. I thought I could use this beluga easing, but it's actually not in there. Yeah, because all of these start at 0 and end at 1, so I guess I could add another function in here, but it doesn't really do the same. not the same thing, so. Okay, so anyway, that's arc height times -4 times p squared, which I'll do p times p minus p. And I guess I'll move this comment over here so I'll remember. Okay, so yeah, is a parabola with zeros. Let's write it this way, where y equals 0 at y equals 0.5 at t equals 0.5. Oh wait, that's wrong. Y equals 1 when t equals 0.5. Okay, yeah, so -4 times p squared minus p. So pretty sure this will be all I have to do. So now we'll do movement. We set here arc height is 0. The only difference is that we'll have another function. I think how I'll actually do this. Handle common. And I'll just have the arc height. Yeah, because this debug name is used a few times. Or actually don't use it at all, so that makes this a little simpler. Is that because, yeah, this linear move, spelled that wrong. I'll just leave that out if I have to fix it. Okay, so let's handle arc, handle linear will actually just be a Lua, handle arc, and except I'll pass 0 as arc height. Got a comma. Right, so it's pretty simple. Let's see. So I'll just need to register something else here. Register. Do move arc. Equals Lua. Handle arc. I don't think it'll let me. Kinda does, but I don't know how that would work, so I'm gonna need to create another delegate. I still go back and forth about whether I like this method of basically empty shells for the Lua interface classes, but I definitely don't want these to call the actual game logic class, so better just to have someone else set these functions, I suppose, although it does seem a little weird. Arc, or do arc, and I need to add height here. And again, this arc movement is really just for jumping. Did I spell that wrong? Oh. So move arc. Okay. All set up. Okay, there's one error down here. Debug name. Oh, let's type move. I think that's it. So here, let's just do, oh, I need to make sure the arc height is not negative. I'll take care of that in just a second. So do, or let's say do, just move arc linear. And let's do a height of 2. So up here, find the target. So if arc height is less than 0, then we just need to say that the arc height must be positive. Well, I mean, nothing really doesn't hurt anything if it's negative, it just looks weird. So I don't think I'll have this because who knows, maybe for some reason mod author would want an enemy to dip down while they're flying, I don't know. Well, that would make sense actually. Another thing is that maybe they'd want to have a different up vector for an arc. Like if they wanted to jump around something, but don't worry about that for now. Are we done here? I think so. If I just play. Oh, okay, I know what I forgot to do. I saw the warning right before I pressed play. So here in the linear mover, I forgot to set the position in the transform. So t dot position equals flat position. That's it. Also, just realized I'll do this real quick. It'll let me. The collider, right now it's a static collider, so the game won't like it when I move it around. But I should really make it a kinematic rigid body. That just tells the game that this collider will move around a bit. Since it's rigid body, it's not actually simulated by the physics engine, or since it's kinematic. Ooh, what just happened? Try that again, I was at the bad angle to see. I don't think it actually jumped up, I think it jumped sideways. Sure. Make this a lot higher so I can actually see what's going on and set a higher timer. Let's take off the elastic out. Let's just do linear. Although I think arcs would actually look better cubic. Okay, so the arc isn't doing. Did I forget to set the arc height? Maybe. Oh, I just set it to 0. That was silly of me. Okay, so hopefully this will work because I'm out of time. Yeah, looks good. There's a top. And obviously since the easing is linear, it's a little weird. Easing would look better cubic. Let's just try that. Or I think quadratic would be more physically accurate, but this looks a little better, but Actually, for an arc it should move slower in the middle. So I might have to make some kind of better easing for this, but I can do that later. Anyway, important is that the actual movement is good. And I can mark that off my list. So yeah, for sure tomorrow we'll do rotation. It's basically going to be the same as this, except slightly more complicated. Just a little bit, because we'll have to tell the direction to rotate, which, well, mods might want to pass that, so I don't know, we'll have to figure out how that will work. And then we'll finally get into actually making the animations play while are in between actions, and we'll have to deal with halting actions and coroutines and these wait handles and everything. And then we'll get back to animating and some more graphics. And then once we're finished with all this, we'll see about, I'll just pick some other project here. I don't know, I kind of want to do more terrain stuff, but at the same time I want to finish up action so we can actually play the game, so let's see how I feel at that point. But thanks everybody for coming by and watching, I really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow around 8:30 Eastern like usual. If you want to be notified when I go live, feel free to follow me here or on my Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel where I upload all my streams if you'd like to check out anything you missed. And I have a Discord channel if you'd like to chat with me throughout the day. I'd love to have you there. But yeah, that's about it for me for tonight. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.